All right. So we're back in here, and I'm going to do this and share my screen again. Get us back to where we were. Apologize, everybody. There we go. So I created a new page, and I just had to do that because it wouldn't even let me save the page. Once that's done, this is actually not even what I created. All right, add new page. About us, get an image down here. Type some stuff. And then publish. Once you're done publishing a page, oh, another thing I should have shown you, I'll have to actually create a new one so you can see anyway. This is the link to the specific page I just created. If you need to share it with somebody, now you see my new page I created there. Add a new page. Let's see. Yeah, right. Web design services. Put an image up here. Write some stuff here. Publish it. Oh, hold on, I forgot. Preview, before you publish a page, if you actually want to see what it will look like in the actual browser, not in the designer, you do have the ability to preview it. So it's not live online for anybody else to see, but you can actually see exactly how it will look in a browser. You visit site, this is to take you to this page as if it was live. When you're done previewing it, you always need to publish it or it will not ever be live. They actually make you do it twice now just to make sure you're serious about it, I guess. Now I've got another page here. We'll do one more. And I would put a form down here if I had a form. I don't have any forms I could put here, so we'll just leave it like this. And again, pages, the difference between pages and post pages are permanent things, and they can be part of your menu. If you're going to have a menu at the top of Google navigate through your website, those things that are targeting with that menu need to be permanently in place, and posts are not like that. Posts are constantly getting a new one, is always going to the top of the list. Now you can have a posts page where the page that you go to lists all of your blog posts, but each individual post is not going to be part of your menu ordinarily. All right, so now that we've done that, we'll go back to customize. One of the things we should see in here, and I didn't even notice to be honest with you, but yeah, menus.
Yes.
This right here is your menu. They already have it set up as if it's a mobile device. Ordinarily, in almost all websites, you get some sort of like horizontal list of pages to choose from or a vertical list of pages. On mobile devices, you're usually going to get this little hamburger icon, they call it, and you have to click on that to actually expose the menu. It's empty right now. They call it empty menu. That's very clever. Now, when you do this, you name the menu. The menu name is not going to show up on the screen. This is just for your purposes. You can have multiple menus. You could have a menu for your header here. You could have a different menu in your footer. You could have a menu in a sidebar. So you can actually make 3 or 4 different menus and just give them different names here. That's what this name is how you are going to know it as you're designing your website. I'm going to call this main menu or min menu, apparently. You add items to the menu. These are all the pages. If you want, if you had, let's say for instance, I had a services category and I had like 5 or 6 different services and I wanted them to be subordinate to that. In fact, that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put about us in the menu. I'm going to put all these in the menu. Why do I have 2 home pages? Right. Anyway, post, I don't have any post right now. Category, don't have any category, don't have any tags. When you have them here, if you had, you want to have like a drop down from one of the other ones, you can just simply drag one of these and slide it over. So now it's like a subcategory. Look, this down here too. So if you look at the way it works in the menu, let me save this. No, it didn't even do it. I guess because of the way this theme is designed, it doesn't have submenus. It puts everything in there. Ordinarily, if it was, because it's got this mobile layout set up, if it was one of the typical horizontal menu options where you can have subcategories, that's what this would be indicating here, because you have this subordinate to home. It would be, you hover over the home part here and it would drop those other two things down. It has it set up as if it's already on a mobile device, so this particular theme doesn't work that way. So that's why it allowed me to do that with these. No reason for it though. All right, so that's how you make a menu, and then you'll be able to navigate through your website here. You can do all this in the customizer. You can actually navigate through your site and use the different things that are in here as you're designing it. One of the cool features about WordPress, actually took really a lot of work actually to set that up, I'm sure. So anything that you're doing will get a live preview in the actual customizer interface here. Stats is obviously just statistics for usage, visitors, and stuff that have come. The plan that you're on is the free plan. If you're a premium or business, it would have information about that here. Click on that to get more info about your plan and upgrade if you want to upgrade. Site includes your pages, your posts, your media, which is images, video, audio files, anything that you have uploaded to the site or want to upload. If you click on media, you'll get your library. You can actually, they have them categorized now in these tabs. It used to not be the case, but that's kind of neat. If you want to add something new, you'll click this here. You can add stuff from Google Photos, add stuff from your WordPress library or free photo library. Add new is actually here. So you're creating a library that's specific to this website that you're designing is the idea here. Any media that you're going to use in here. That's not a bad way to save yourself some time. Actually, if you have images you know you're going to use, just come here all at once, upload all of your images, all of your video files, all of your audio files, anything that's going to be part of your site, just come in and just load them all into your media library right away so that you don't have to upload them as you're building the site. It's a little bit quicker that way. Comments, yes, go ahead.
How thorough is the WordPress media library? I saw that there was one option that was free photos.
No, that's
Pretty much
Oh.
the part.
that's what we're looking at is your WordPress. That's what this is. So if you had a Google Photos account, you could switch it to that gallery. Free photo library is, I guess, powered by Pexels. Pexels is a site that I use to get royalty-free photos. If you do need a place to get some free photos, Pexels is a good one. All the stuff that's on here is intended for commercial use, royalty-free. You can do anything with it other than literally sell the images themselves, but you can use them to sell things. You can put them on your commercial website. You can even include them on products, provided the image itself is not the primary part of the product.
What's that name again, please?
This is Pexels. It's PEXELS.com. Another one that I use all the time. This is good, helpful stuff, actually, as I use these websites all the time. Pixabay, PIXABAY.com. All royalty-free stock images. Just pick some random category. Usually pretty high-quality stuff. And tons of them. There are 241 high-definition cat pictures, for instance.
By the way, does Google own WordPress?
Not yet, but I'm sure they will at some point.
Because everything you told us has been, Google does the SEO, Google does this, Google does that.
Yeah, I usually reference Google when I'm talking about SEO just because that is by far the most used search engine. And it blows everybody else away as far as the number of people that are using and the number of searches that are actually performed. Google is superior. Not that it's better than everybody else, just that it's used way more. And I mean, it's pretty good. It's got a lot of development invested in it. So how do I get back to my media library from here? Did I just type that right into the page I was on, apparently? No. All right. So get back here to our customizer. Site identity we went over. You add your logo here, your title here, your tagline. Your icon is the little thing that appears up here. Oh, man, I don't like how they do that. Featured prompt is irrelevant. Contact info is going to be the stuff that's up here. Style packs is a thing specific to this theme. I've never seen this before, but apparently you can choose from different versions of this theme. Yeah, they make that look neat. That's pretty fancy. All right, I'll just go with that one for now. Colors and backgrounds. You can choose a background image. When you do something for your background is literally the entire page, the background of the entire page. You can select a color, you can select an image. And can't even tell that you did that. So again, these are some of these options here are WordPress options that are not specific to this theme. And that's one thing you'll find is people that designed themes didn't even take into account all of the different stuff that you have available to you in the editor. So if you make a change and it doesn't do anything, that's just because the theme you're using did not account for that possibility. It's not because you did something wrong. It's just you're working with a pre-existing platform and then these third-party themes that other people made that they can do it however they want. They don't have to follow all the WordPress rules. If they want to do things the way things are done, they have to do it the WordPress way, but they don't always have to do all the stuff that WordPress does. And you'll find that some themes just don't even accommodate some of these options. This is all kind of irrelevant. Well, that's kind of neat sometimes. You'll get if you're making posts, one thing that it does is it puts your name and the date when you created that post on each one. I don't always want that, and so you do have the option in here to choose if you wanted to display the date, display category, display tags. Tags would be like keywords that you would type in when you're creating a blog post, and it's to say this is about, this is about horse racing and thoroughbreds and Ocala, and those are tags that you're associating with it, so that as people are searching for stuff about horse racing and Ocala, they're likely to find that page. You probably don't always want those actually displayed on the page, but you can. So that's what this stuff is over here, letting you. Do you want to display the author who made that post? Do you want to display comments for the leave people the ability to comment? Depending on how you're using your site, you may not want comments at all. In fact, in most cases, probably don't want comments unless you're literally just doing like a personal opinion type of blog. You probably don't want comments. And if you do allow for comments, you definitely need to monitor them because there are people that will just come and spam like Viagra ads and stuff in your blog posts, and you do have to be aware of that. And there's nothing, there are things like spam filters, like Askamet is a plugin you could get that'll filter out spam, but it's only based on what it knows. And the people that are creating spam also know what Askamet knows, so they're constantly this cat and mouse game. They're always this people that want to create the spam for your comments are always aware of what's being blocked out, how it's being filtered, and so they become knowledgeable enough to overcome that. So if you're going to allow comments, just know that you have to be actually on top of monitoring that, making sure that people aren't taking advantage of it. CSS is cascading style sheets. It's actual code that you would write to style your pages. You probably are not going to want to mess with that. In fact, it doesn't even let you unless you have a premium plan, apparently. Widgets are little things that can be added. In this case, this particular theme only has a footer to add widgets to. Sometimes you'll see sidebar as an option, which will be like over off to the side. There'll be a little list of things you can put there. Add a widget, we'll see what kind of widgets they make available. They put your Akismet widget over there, which is the number of spam comments that they've caught. I don't know why you'd want to display it on your webpage. It's a little odd. Archives, it would be a list of your archived blog posts. You can display an audio player off to the side or in your footer. Authors, blogs that follow, stats from your blog, a calendar. These are all little things that you can just add to your site that somebody else already wrote the code for, so you don't have to bother with it. Supposedly put this in the footer. Yeah, here it is. Puts a little calendar in the footer. Absolutely no reason for it, but just one of the sorts of things you can do in this case. Footer 2, add a widget. A Facebook page plugin. See what that does. Well, you have to have your Facebook URL configured correctly, first of all. But that would be showing your Facebook page, apparently, like a little box down here. That would be kind of cool in some cases. I don't know what that noise is. Gallery, you can display an image gallery. Google Translate, if you are writing or attracting people who speak a different language, you may want to make it easy for them to translate your page. You can put a little, probably just like a little button. Yeah, select the language you want to translate your entire page into that. All the different types of like pre-programmed little things that you can just add to your page with a click of a button. Again, depending on the type of theme you're using, they're not always going to be in the footer. Sometimes it'll be a header, sometimes it'll be a sidebar, but that's what widgets are basically, is just pre-programmed little things that you can add to your page, little tools and toys.
Is there a way to get your Facebook posts directly into your website?
Probably, depending on the theme you choose, that would be a widget that would be available to you. In fact, I'm guessing that's what this one, let's see. Where did widgets go? It's the one that's highlighted. I've got this one here already in footer 2, Facebook page plugin. So if you put your Facebook page URL here, my guess is that's exactly what it would do, is show your most recent posts right here. And you can decide width in pixels if you want to make it a little wider. It's going to be, you have to take into account that I squeezed it in between these two other widgets, so it's really not going to allow me to change the width apparently. But if I wanted to get rid of those other widgets, it may let me edit it. No. If I had my actual Facebook URL in here and it was showing actual Facebook posts, there's a good chance I would be able to change the width. So that's not really a limitation of the theme. It's just the fact that I haven't configured it right. Yeah, my guess is that's exactly what you would see. Here's what you're asking for, is your most recent posts that you put up on your Facebook page. Now, I'm going to go to the theme editor real quick. If I can even find it, everything's totally different in this interface now. To show you where to put your analytics code. And, you know, the fact that it is the free version might be a limitation that I didn't even really consider, actually. All right. Well, in your theme editor, there's something called header.php. Put this on the screen. Your header.php file is all of the information that's the meta information. If you go to your theme editor, it's going to be called, except for actually spelled correctly, there's one difference. Header.php. And in there's going to be a section that's your head. This is information that is not displayed on the page, but gives your browser information about the page. It'll have your meta description, the page title, any code that you have for if you're using Google Analytics for one thing, or tracking Facebook traffic, say you Facebook advertising, you use something called a Facebook pixel. All that stuff goes in your head. So here you'll see stuff like after all that, what you want to find when you're doing this is this tag right here. The closing head tag is really the only thing you need to look for. That is the end of the header portion, and it's separated. There's going to be stuff in here, script like JavaScript and other scripts that you would break if you tried to paste something in the middle of it. So always, if you're adding something to your header, only put it right before this closing head tag. Make sure you're not including it inside of any other script or anything like that. You'll take this Google Analytics code that you get from Google and just paste it right before the head, just like that. That's going to make it so that it is always going to work every single time the page is loaded because it's in your head, but it's not going to block a lot of other resources. That's something that can happen too if you've got JavaScript and stuff on your page, which if you're using WordPress, I made it look like your header file is like a simple thing. It's not going to be super complex and have tons of JavaScript and stuff in there too. But as long as you just find this closing head tag with a / head in those two brackets, just go to the beginning of it, and push enter to go down a space, and then that empty space you just vacated, paste your code. So what happens is this is actually JavaScript too. You'll see stuff like this in there that already exists, and if you accidentally go like right here and paste it, you just broke that whole function because this is closing the end of that script. Just go ahead.
How did you, in WordPress, how did you get to see those codes?
This is in your theme editor, is what they call it, which it looks like it's not making available to me. Here, hold on. I'm gonna solve this problem right now. I'm gonna go to an actual one of my clients' WordPress websites, and it's okay because it's not even a live site yet. What's it called? We're still building it. And also, I'm not gonna show you anything important here. Hopefully, I don't even know if I know the password. I guess we'll find out. Hold on. Right. May not actually work. Problem is writing this stuff down. I don't have to use my memory anymore. No. Well, ordinarily, when you're here in your customizer and your WordPress development interface, you're going to have under your customize, actually usually it's under themes, there's a theme editor. And in your theme editor, where it's going to show you all the actual files for your sites, and you'll have your header file, you'll have the functions.php file, you'll have a good 15 to 15 different files that exist. They're all .php files, and one style.css, which is the cascading style sheets page. The one that's called header.php, it's the same in every single WordPress site that I've ever seen. Header.php is where you're going to have your head and that closing head tag. That is a header that applies to every page on your site. So even if you make new pages, they're all incorporating that header. So that's the key with analytics, is when you're using Google Analytics, it has to be on every page of the site. So if you go to header.php and put it right before that closing head tag, it is going to be on every single page of your site. So even if you make new pages, those new pages are still using that header, and they're still all referencing. That actually will say that PHP get header is like the first line of code in every single one of your WordPress pages. There's a little PHP function telling it to get the header and pull that information at the beginning of this page. And then when you look at it actually in a browser, this is a WordPress site. View your page source. What you're getting here in the browser, this is rendered by the actual browser itself. So all the code that you're looking at is not even, won't even look like this. It's telling your browser how to write your website, basically. And you'll see all this stuff up here, all this code is part of your header. All this here, the link, rel stuff, all this is in your header. And here's at the end of some kind of script. And here's where your body starts. So this tag right here is what I'm talking about, all the way down here. You find that. I can't do anything to edit here. So you'll want to just select the beginning of that and enter, so it moves down one line, and that empty space that you just created between it, just paste all of your analytic code right there, and that's exactly where they recommend that you put it, and then it'll be on every single page of your site now. And that's basically the difference here from like general web design information. All this stuff between this opening head tag way up here and that closing head tag is not visible on your page. It has nothing to do with what you actually see on the page, except for you do see the title up here in the tab. Body is the stuff that's actually on the page. That's the difference. The head is information about the page. The body is the actual information that's displayed on the page.
So in WordPress, I'm familiar with writing this stuff in Notepad, way back when. In WordPress, is there any way that I could click View Source, which is what we used to do, and see the coding for the page?
I sure hope so, because we've always been able to do that. And if you can't actually edit HTML in here anymore, that would be extremely disappointing. So let me go back in here. We'll pick one of these pages. You've got your visual editor, which is what we're looking at. It's the Gutenberg visual editor. Typically, if you go up here, and I'm hoping this is still the case, you click on this, you can go to code editor right here, and that's what you get.
That's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, that is very helpful. I use that a lot myself, especially when you're trying to do things with the visual editor and it's not doing it exactly the way you want it to do it. You can always go to the code editor, because the visual editor is a lot quicker in a lot of ways. You just type your 5 or 6 paragraphs of text, and you want to format it different ways. You just click over here on the block editor, and you say, I want this to be, medium now, instead of trying to say like style equals font size larger or whatever. You can just click on this little box and it's done. So it is a lot easier in that way, but you do have that option if you look at these little dots up here to change it to code editor at any time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Another thing you can do if you are talking about actual code and you're going to create your own CSS classes, they do give you a place down here to reference those on each page. So if you have a CSS class specifically for, like, on every single one of my pages, I want a little block that has a black background and red text for whatever reason, and you want that to apply, you can put that little class right here, and it'll apply to that block that you're working on. So you don't have to constantly go back to the code again. All right, so color settings, again, when you're doing pages, you can do background colors and text colors. Just remember the difference between block and document up here. Things that you do to the block are just the thing that you're typing on. Things that you do to the document are the entire page.
But not necessarily the entire site.
Not the entire site, no, just the document that you're currently working on, that's right. When you do try to leave a page too, like I should have probably referenced that. One thing that's kind of cool, if you make changes and you don't click update, and you try to leave, it'll give you a little warning that you have unsaved changes. Are you sure you want to leave this page? I pretty much out of habit, if I ever see that, immediately cancel, so that I can stay here and fix it. Even if I don't know what changes they're talking about, just the fact that it's telling me I changed something and didn't save it, I freak out internally. And then I go back and make sure that I do save it. So it is nice of them to give you that option. This just removes this panel here. So one thing you'll see too about a lot of pages is they actually will change their appearance based on the size of the screen. And if you're doing this sometime and you think that maybe it's wrapping things differently or showing you things differently because it's all crushed down to a smaller size, this just toggles this panel over here with these settings. A lot of times you will see a different kind of appearance when you actually spread it out across the desktop size screen. In this case, because this layout is such that it's already everything's centered and already full screen. But if you get a situation where you've got like an image on the left side and then a block of text to the right of it, those things are going to wrap on a smaller screen and the image will go up above the text. And so you can kind of test all that stuff out. And that's not a WordPress specific thing. I do that all the time when I'm designing stuff, just by resizing the browser. You can see the way that it responds to different screen sizes. That's kind of a good thing to do just in general when you're designing new web pages. because constantly look at it in different sized screens. This is not exact because when you get down to this resolution, it might be the size of like an iPod or an iPad screen, but it's not set to the same resolution settings as an iPad would be. So it's not always going to be exactly the same, but it gives you an idea. It's typically going to show you how your text is changing, how your menu is moving around, how everything is wrapping to accommodate the different screen size. Let's see what's in tools. All right, we're going to take a look at plugins real quick. Again, I can't install any plugins, but we'll talk about some of the things that you can do. Yoast SEO, it's free. These are all free things too once you are on a paid plan. And they're also, if you just download the platform and host it yourself, they're also free. The plugins are always free. Technically, you just have to have a paid plan in order to download them. There are some plugins that cost money, but I've never used one. Everything I've ever wanted to use was in the free list. Yoast SEO is a very common one. It's a popular one that I use, and what it will do is on each one of your pages, it'll grade your search engine optimization ranking. It'll do that by the amount of text that you have, the amount of internal links versus external links that you have on there. It'll see how many of your keywords are included in headings. You tell it which keyword you want to target with that page, and it'll tell you if you're including enough of them in your headings. If you've got too many keywords, it'll give you it's like an indicator, like a traffic light. You get like a red light, a yellow light, green light. Very simple. Each page will have an SEO score that's either red, yellow, or green. And it'll have a readability score, which is either red, yellow, or green, based on this Fleischmann reading ease test. Maybe something like that. I have no idea. But it tells you whether it's readable by whatever standards they're using. And it gives you that kind of thing, which I think that's kind of useful. I don't always understand where they're coming at with the readability. I mean, I get when they talk about using passive voice instead of active voice and stuff, but sometimes you're not using enough transition terms in your sentences. They want you to say things like before and after, and I do this and then that. And if you don't do enough of that, go ahead.
The length of the sentences and the common usage words.
Okay.
And it counts those.
Well, it gives you a score based on that too.
Yes.
So you don't have to, I guess, figure that out on your own. Although if you have that information when it's complaining about your page, you can do a lot better than me. I'm just like, what's your problem? That sounds awesome to me. I don't know what your problem is. But Yoast SEO does give you that, and it's really cool and useful. It's free. Contact Form 7 is a very simple contact form. This is another one that I use as WP Forms. It's just a quick and easy way to create a contact form on your page. If somebody you want to collect, which I highly recommend. If you have the ability to email you from your website, you can track that as well. So for marketing purposes and optimizing your site later, you can keep track of how many people filled out your contact form based on how many people, or versus how many people visited your site. And also, when you're using analytics, like I talked about earlier, you can see where those people came from. So if you're doing a lot of Facebook posting, if you're doing a lot of Twitter posting, and you want to know where your traffic that's coming to your site is coming from, if you're tracking that stuff and you have a contact form, you can use that to see, did they come from Facebook? Did they come from Twitter? Did they come from a Google search? Did they come from a paid AdWords click?
And how do you get that information? Is it emailed to you? Is it another page you look at? Is it something you look at in WordPress?
It's something you look at. Well, WordPress may make some of that available to you, but it's all done through Google Analytics at analytics.google.com.
So you go to that website to get your statistics?
Yeah, you go to analytics to get your analytics.google.com to get your tracking code. Put your tracking code on your site, and it will keep track of who's coming to your site, how long they're spending on each page, which pages they visited. And when you have a form set up, it'll keep track of when that form is submitted. You can do that a couple of different ways, either through event tracking. You can have it, and then when they click on a button, it'll count that as an event, and then it counts it as a conversion in analytics. And when you're tracking your conversions in analytics, you kind of have to set some of that stuff up in analytics. I actually had a class on that, like workshop last week was about that exactly. And that was not recorded. It is recorded, but there's no audio. And I also forgot to share my screen. So it's just a video of me standing here, like silently miming for 2 hours. So it's really useless, but I'll probably do that one again sometime. In fact, there's another one. If you go to the SCORE YouTube page, I did a workshop about a year ago about analytics where it talks about that and how to set that so the conversion tracking up. I think I called it conversion optimization. It's very useful though, because if you're going to be using paid ads anywhere, if you're gonna be paying for ads on AdWords or Facebook or anywhere really, and you want to know what kind of return you're getting on that investment, especially if you're using multiple sources of advertising at the same time, multiple forms of advertising. You've got $50 on AdWords and $50 on Facebook, and all of your conversions or all the people who filled out the form came from Facebook. You know that, well, I'm not going to spend $50 on AdWords next month. I'm just going to pay $100 on Facebook, or vice versa. And so if you could keep track of what your advertising is actually doing. And then if you over time, you can come up with an idea of how much each of those contract or contact form leads, how much each one of those is worth to you value-wise. For every 50 of those I get, I'm going to make 2 sales, and that 2 sales are going to average $50 a piece. So I get $100 for every 50 people that fill out the form, and it costs me $20 to get 50 people to fill out my form. From AdWords, it costs me $10 to get 50 people to fill out my form from Facebook. So you can actually match a real dollar value to your advertising in that way over time. It takes a lot of tracking though and paying attention. And also, just because your Facebook ads didn't do well this month doesn't mean Facebook is bad for you. You might have bad ads. You might have bad audience targeting. So there's a lot of stuff you could do to improve the advertising there too, but at least it lets you know if it's working or not and where your traffic is actually coming from. Really good also for just organic search engine optimization, because you can also see which people came to you just from a natural organic Google search. It's because they typed in a search term and brought up your page and they came that way. It separates paid ads from the organic traffic too. So you can also optimize your site for regular search engine traffic using contact forms.
Did Google charge for that?
No, analytics is totally free. It's a super awesome tool that I highly recommend to everybody. Probably the best thing you could do as far as if you want to make a website that actually works for you and generates business for you. It's so important to use, if not analytics, and some type of tool like that at least, to know where your traffic is coming from. Are people actually spending time on your pages? Which page are they spending time on? If you find out that you're getting people coming to your site and every time they land on a certain page, they are bouncing from your site within 3 seconds, either that page is loading too slow or it's saying something offensive, or I don't know, to turn people away. You may find that there's just, you can actually track the way people flow through your site. There may be a place on your site where every single person that goes there almost is leaving your site before they try to contact you. Or you may find that you've got a page where pretty much everybody who lands on that page suddenly clicks on the contact us button and they're sending you an email. And you know about that. Now you can replicate that on every other page. You know what's working and what's not working. Very cool tool, very extremely robust and sophisticated tool that's got way more information than anybody could ever use. But it does keep track of all kinds of stuff, like the age of people that are coming to your site, what other sites they visited before they came to you. Like I was just talking about, that can be really important.
How do they know the age?
It's disturbing. I don't know exactly how to get this information.
It's big data.
Yes.
And it's amazing how it's applied.
Well, because you have a Google account, probably. Pretty much everybody has a Google account. And so they know who you are. When you're going around looking at other people's websites, they know it's you by your IP address, by your activity. That's why you can get, if you go look at a bed on Amazon.com, you're trying to buy a new bed, and suddenly you're like, oh yeah, I'm done shopping for beds now. I'm going to go over here to Kmart and try to buy some shoes. And they're getting ads for beds all of a sudden on the Kmart site because they know you're just looking at beds over there at Amazon. So they track, and that's actually a cool kind of advertising I do to myself on remarketing. Very useful. But yeah, because of the fact that you have a Google account and they know who you are as you're traveling around the internet, they know, and they don't always, because you can have your browser set to not use tracking cookies, so they don't always know exactly who you are. So sometimes you'll get some of that information where it's unknown. They just know that a person came there, but a lot of times they'll know who this person is, exactly what age group you fit into, what types of products you like to buy, if you have kids or not. You don't always get that in the analytics. They won't tell you if people have kids or not, luckily. Facebook does, though. If you go to Facebook, you can target people that have children, and you can target people that have children of a certain age. That's creepy, honestly. Really useful, though, for marketing, but it's like a little bit disturbing at the same time.
It's useful for tracking migration patterns as well.
Right? Now, luckily, it doesn't tell you who those people are. It doesn't like, give you their names and stuff, at least. But say I want to target people who are between this age and have kids, you can do that. And they're going to show your ads to this. They're not going to tell you, like, this person is Teresa Jones who lives over here in Birmingham, Alabama. It's not going to give you that information. It's letting you know that if you want to target those people, we will show your ads to those people. In analytics, you don't get that detailed of information about it, but you will see what kind of device they were using, what country they were in, and that kind of stuff, which can be useful too. If you're getting a lot of traffic from Bangladesh, for instance, and those people are all buying your stuff, that can be helpful to know. Maybe I should stop advertising in, Colorado. I'm going to start advertising in Bangladesh a little bit more, since those
And
people buy my
maybe
stuff for whatever
offer a
reason.
language translator on your site.
Exactly, yeah. You get a lot of traffic from other countries, and yeah, that might be a useful thing. Make it a little bit easier for them. So yeah, definitely, like, it's kind of unrelated to this. It's not really unrelated, because if you're building a website, get analytics. As always, I would recommend that to anybody everywhere. Use Google Analytics, install the tracking code immediately, because even if you're not going to be using that data right away, it's tracking it and it's accumulated for you to always go back and look at it later. Like, if you want to see, I'm starting my website today, putting my code in today, and I don't even care until a year from now before I even look at it. Well, you can look back over the course of that whole year and get all of that stuff, everything that happened from that moment you put that tracking code on there. Everybody who came to your site, where they came from, what kind of device they were on, what country they were in, how long they spent there, what pages they looked at. All that stuff is in there. And it's very useful. So Yoast SEO, though, for plugins, I would recommend getting that one as well. It helps you optimize your site for search engines right away. If you are doing any kind of e-commerce where you're selling things directly from your site, I've never used it, but WooCommerce is kind of the thing now. That's like the hip thing that all the kids are using. So apparently it's pretty good. If you have a specific thing you're trying to do, is it even gonna let me search? Yeah, okay. One thing that happens when you're using WordPress is you get tons and tons of JavaScript files. Because of the way the website is set up, the way the platform works, the fact that you can go on and create pages from within a web browser. You don't have to go to the server and actually write code on the server and upload it there. They have all this scripting that they have to include in your pages that is completely unnecessary, but it is necessary in order for them to make it so that you can edit pages this way, make it easy to use. Minifying is a way of making that script not so bulky and render blocking, they call it, so it's not stopping your pages from loading. All those JavaScript files can actually slow down your pages. So one thing that you'll find that people recommend, if you go to, here's another tool for you folks if you're interested. One of the things I use all the time, Google Page Speed Insights. You enter any web page here, and it'll see here. It'll analyze it and give you a score, a page speed score, and tell you what you can do to actually speed it up. It tells you specifically what is slowing that page down. Called Page Speed Insights. You get a mobile score and a desktop score. This one's pretty good. Of course, I developed it, so I knew that already. If you look down here, I'm going to go to the mobile, that one's in the yellow. Properly sized images. So that's a little unusual. I'm surprised that's giving me that problem. These images are bigger than they need to be. It's telling you that you could get the same quality image in 189 kilobytes, but this one is 244 kilobytes. That's something that I definitely always suggest too. If you are uploading new images to your site, try to optimize them. Another website I use for this is Kraken.io. That's a free image optimizer, and it would strip away any unnecessary data from your image files without actually reducing the visual appearance of the image or changing that in any way. It's a lossless image file reduction. There's lots of stuff associated with an image, and it's like different colors that are not even being used in it, but there's information about those colors just encapsulated in that file. And that type of stuff can all be stripped away from it. You do that, and you're going to do that before you upload any of your images. Run it through something like that, and you'll get much smaller images that still have the same visual appearance. They're not small. When I say smaller, I don't mean smaller like they take up less space, like visually, like the file size is smaller. I mean, eliminate render blocking resources and stuff I was talking about here. It has one specific file it's telling me about that is block it. It's bigger than it needs to be because it's not minified. The reason I brought that up is because of these plugins. There are plugins you can use to minify your JavaScript files. That's one thing I would recommend looking into. There's an analytics plugin here as well. Tons of analytics plugins, actually. There you go. Actually, I didn't even think of that, but that's a way that you could input your analytics code in. If you get like Google Analytics by Monster Insights, you don't have to go to your theme editor, your header.php file. You can just, I can't install it, that's right. But it'll give you a little box, say enter your analytics code here. There's just a little box. You just put it there, and then it puts it in the file in the correct place. That's a plugin that's free once you're using a paid plan. If you're on a business plan with WordPress, you can get any of these plugins. Get one of these analytics plugins and put your code in that way if you're scared to get into the file, which I totally understand if you don't want to mess with your PHP files, because I have broken many things in my years. And once, really, really easy to break stuff, but once it's broken, it can be really hard to figure out what you did and fix it if you don't know what you're doing. Or if you know just a little bit about what you're doing, just enough to let yourself go in there and break things, then that's even worse in a way, because I have enough confidence to start poking around in places I shouldn't be poking around and end up breaking everything, and then for 2 weeks the site's down until I can figure it out. Tons of different plugins, though. I mean, I don't want to go through all the different things that are available. Literally about 50,000 of them. They're all free, developed by other people. You're going to get reviews on them. They have stars here. If you click on it to get a little more information, you typically can see how many reviews they have. It's not showing me that, I think, specifically because I'm not on a business plan. I can't install them anyway, so it's not showing me how. Typically, it'll show you the last version update was, how many people have reviewed it, what the score is as far as the number of stars it has, if it has been tested with your version of WordPress, or if it has been untested. Sometimes it's just incompatible with your version of WordPress. That's okay now, because ever since WordPress 5.2, it literally won't even let you install plugins that are not compatible. Just recently, though, 2 months ago, if a plugin was not compatible with your version of WordPress, you wouldn't know that until you installed it and it broke everything. Now, WordPress actually has that built in where they will test the plugin for you as you're installing it. It will tell you whether or not it's compatible, which is a really cool addition they added. So if you try to install something and it's not going to work, it'll tell you that before you even do it. So Yoast SEO and contact forms are things that probably everybody's pretty much going to want to use. Contact forms, I mean, I guess if you don't do something where people are going to be reaching out to you through the website, that's optional. I can't think of anything, though, where I wouldn't want to at least give that as an option. And no matter what type of business or what type of organization I'm trying to promote through a website, giving the people the ability to contact you, even if it's to complain, even if it's to have a problem with something that you did, I'd want to at least make that as easy as possible. If somebody wants to complain, you want to make it easy for them to complain, because they just get more and more upset the longer it takes and the more difficulty they have getting to you. And I don't think I have anything else that I had really planned today. I feel like it was a little bit kind of all over the place and wasn't really as linear as I was hoping it would be. I kind of got jerked around a little bit by my tangents in my mind. So hopefully when I go back and look at this, if anybody else goes back and look at this, they will get some value from it. If nothing else, you could find the one specific spot where we were going over the one thing you're trying to do, and that'll help you with that at least. Otherwise, you can always try to contact me if you have any questions about anything. Here's my email address. I will include it in here as well. Rich is me at citrusbusinessboosters.com. If you have any questions about anything, I mean, I may not reply immediately. I'm pretty busy a lot of times, but typically I don't mind taking a few minutes to help somebody out with something. That's kind of why I'm doing this in the first place.
Just as a quickie, go to one of those pages, like the page about us that you created.
All right.
Just that you added to the annual one. Say, for instance, you looking at that and say there's too much white space above about us. Well, can you shrink that down? show us how to shrink that down.
That is a good question. This may be the sort of thing you actually need to get into the theme editor and edit those individual files to do. These are some of the limitations of the themes that you're using. They have these kind of things laid out specifically like this. They may give you an option to change some of that. Let's go to my block here. No
Okay, so
blocks
that would
selected.
be just kind of experiment around and.
Yeah, you kind of have to poke around. I don't know why it's saying I have no block selected. I found that interesting. That's not considered a block. Oh, that's the title. So yeah, this is almost definitely a sort of situation where if you don't like this amount of white space, you would have to go to the actual file, which is probably called like aboutus.php, and find out. And that wouldn't even be that simple, because what it is there's going to be a style or a class that's declared on that page, and you'll have to go to your style.css sheet and find that class, and then find out what the padding is at the top of this portion of the page, and then reduce that padding.
Okay.
So if it's something like that that's really bothering you, you're going to want to use a different theme, probably. But yeah, you may have, those are the sorts of things that may be available to you. You're going to see them over here in your block. Sometimes you'll have, here's advanced, what's that all about? Yeah, that's just additional CSS class. So sometimes you will be able to have padding and margins and that sort of thing over here, which is what you're talking about. A margin is the amount of space between that element and the next one. The padding is the amount of space within that element.
Thank you. You answered my
Sure.
question, yes.
Sure.
If you hit switch to draft at the top of that window,
Mm-hmm. Where was that at? Let me go back here. So switch to draft. It unpublishes what you're working on and turns it into a draft.
okay,
So if you find, and that might be something that you would do if you had a page up and you're working on it, you published it because you thought it was ready to go, and then you decided for whatever reason that I just don't want to make this public right now, you do have the ability to take it back down. To be honest though, if you publish something and it for whatever reason got indexed by Google, then it's still going to be up there available to search and cached in somebody's browser if they visited it. So you can unpublish it so that no new visitors can come to it. But it may still show up in Google searches, and then they'll just get a 404 error when they try to go visit it. Or it'll show up if somebody had already visited that page, it may be cached in their browser, and they still have a version of it. But at least it'll block new people from coming to it, or if it hasn't been indexed yet, it'll stop it from getting indexed. Anybody else have anything? Sure.
One other question, when you create a new page, if you've got some pre-established content from say another file, PDF file or a Word document or something of that nature, is it pretty straightforward adding?
If you, in all likelihood, a PDF may be a little trickier unless you have Adobe Acrobat Pro, where you can actually copy and paste the text. But if you have like a Word document, if you had something like this, you can just copy it. Now still, here it is. You come down here to this block, and just paste it. And of course, it's not going to work. But ordinarily, yeah, you could just highlight it and copy it, and it should just let you paste it in your visual editor here. It's not doing that though.
That's the general acceptance.
That's the general idea. I mean, I can do it in the code editor, and then it'll be here. I don't know why. I think that that's just some kind of error I'm getting with this particular theme, but there's no reason you shouldn't be able to just copy and paste any text. Just highlight all the text from your, especially a Word document. A PDF file, it doesn't always let you highlight select text like that unless you have Adobe Pro or Acrobat Pro.
Thank you.
Sure.
I couldn't read your email. What is your email?
It's rich@citrusbusinessboosters.com.
And is that how we would get a link to the video of this?
I believe Jim sends that out after it's over ordinarily. I have a playlist that I created where all of our live streams go. So if you go look for Score Citrus on YouTube, you should find all of the workshops that I've done, which I mean, like 7 of them. It's not an enormous amount.
You
But
will
there's-
edit this before you post it, or is it posted already?
It posts as soon as we're done here, it's done. Once I shut off the live stream, it uploads it, and it's just a video available. That's why the one from last week with me just pantomiming for 2 hours is still up there. But I've got mostly what I do, like search engine optimization stuff and conversion rate optimization. That's the primary stuff that I've done in most of these workshops. So not a lot of really technical stuff. It gets a little bit technical sometimes, but as far as just optimizing a website to be more friendly to search engines, or just for making that just general marketing rules as somebody who's worked in user experience and trying to make websites friendly for people to use as well as for search engines. That's the kind of stuff I normally talk about. How to use calls to action, how to use buttons and forms and place things in a way that makes it easy for people to use, but also effective for search engines to index and rank.
Excellent, thank you.
I hope it was helpful. And it's kind of a very complex platform, really, but I think once you start using it, getting in there, poking around, it makes a lot more sense when you can kind of go through trial and error, make a mistake and see what you did wrong and why it didn't work a certain way. It's kind of how I learn most of the stuff. Do it wrong and figure out why you did it wrong.
Do we have plugins that say, the ones that other websites have, like share with Facebook?
Mhm.
You can just download it onto your website?
Yeah, in all likelihood, there's going to be a plugin unless you do social sharing, you could call it. Yeah, and there may actually be a widget. Let me check real quick while we're here. As quick as it will allow me to. Let's see. Social icons. Now what this is not actually share this post to Facebook, share it to Twitter. It's more visit our Twitter page, visit our Facebook page. So what you're talking about social sharing is probably a plugin you'd have to get, but I'm sure I'd be shocked if there wasn't a plugin that somebody created for doing that already. Again, you do have to have at least the business plan to get plugins, so you'll be counting on, $300 a year though. But that includes the hosting, domain name, and all the stuff, so it's not that bad of a deal.
Is there any publication that you can use to, I'm not familiar with WordPress. Go on the web and sort of play around with it. But you warned us about not playing with things that you can sort of break the site.
That's more if you're.
Is there any like WordPress for dummies or something like that?
I'm sure there probably is. There's lots and lots of documentation. WPBeginner.com is actually a good site that I go to a lot.
So what?
WPBeginner.com. It's a WordPress beginner. WP Beginner is a website that has lots of blogs, lots of articles and information. You really can't, one of the benefits of having this type of content management system where you get this interface like this, you can't really break it unless you get into the code. I'm talking about when you're in the theme editor and the actual PHP files, that's where you can really break it. On this end, it's really hard to break stuff. And you can break a specific page and then just easily fix it. You're not gonna permanently cause a problem. Whereas if you're in the PHP files and you move something, one line gets, one character cut out of it, suddenly everything on the site doesn't work anymore. You're not going to run into that just using the visual editor like this. I wouldn't be too worried about that. Don't be afraid to go in and poke around and take chances and experiment. That's really the best way to learn in a lot of cases.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.